Hi, guys, and welcome to our first little mini breakout course on sex, right? First things first, I wrote a bunch of content, and I know that if you're a busy person, as most of you guys are, you may not have the time to sit and read all of that content. So I'm going to try to make these videos as concise as possible to try to relay some of the information that I relay in the content and stuff that will also help to supplement what you guys are reading. So let's just jump right into it. So in terms of the science behind sex, one of the things that we know now is that well, everyone knows this, the first 6 months to a year of a relationship are super easy, right? Sex is super easy. You don't have to think about it. It just comes naturally. We feel like, absolutely, this is the right person for us. How did I get so lucky? We think about that person. We fantasize about that person. We don't eat. We don't sleep. And there's real science behind that. We have dopamine, we have oxytocin, we have serotonin, we have endorphins that are all sort of floating around, and for good reason, right? There's what I call high evolutionary value to having all that stuff because basically we are put here to survive. And one of the ways that our species survives is by reproducing. And so if we see the object of our affection and our brain sort of puts us in this trance-like state, logic follows, or lack of logic follows, that we end up hopping in the sheets with them really quickly without getting to know them. And that worked for a long time for our species to be able to recreate. Where it doesn't work now is because we make long-term decisions based on that brain chemistry, and that's what gets us into trouble. If you ever been in a relationship with someone and jumped into the sheets with someone and then thought, why did I do that? Or what was I thinking? That's the animal brain at work. That's the limbic system, the reptilian brain, that sort of midbrain part that developed way earlier than this neocortex, this frontal piece that separates us from the animals, right? So eventually, after that 6 months to a year, if the relationship survives and goes past that, what people tend to notice is that the sex drive goes down. You move from that lust stage into love stage, and then into this sort of secure attachment, peaceful place. So some of you guys that may be watching may be in that place right now. You may be in that sort of peaceful, calm place, but noticing that the sex has sort of come down and you're just sort of preemptively here to fix that. Or some of you guys might be in the fourth phase, which is one that I've sort of added on to the research, which is the disenchantment phase. And this is, you're in a relationship with someone, but that's pretty much where it stops. Your partner's downstairs watching football, you're upstairs watching this or watching Housewives of whatever, and you guys pretty much lead separate lives, but on the outside may look like you're together. And this is what I call the disengagement phase, and one that I see so many couples in. And maybe the reason why you're here is because you're experiencing that yourself, and you know that something needs to change, but you're not quite sure how to change it. So hang in there. That's what this course is for. And if you're just sort of, in the beginning stages, you're dating someone, you're in love, enjoy it, because it's a fun couple of months, to have bunny sex and to not know the other person, not to know if they're going to come back, to have that uncertainty, that insecurity, but all at the same time that excitement. It's fun stuff. And so enjoy it, but also know that it's fleeting, and it's fleeting for a reason. Our minds cannot sustain that level of excitement for the rest of our lives. We would literally die from exhaustion because of all the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the oxytocin, the serotonin that is sort of being flooded on a daily basis. And if you guys are still sort of unclear about what I mean, if you can think back to when you were dating either your partner now or somebody that you were just super, super into, and every time you got a text message or a voicemail or an email from that person, you got that little like heart flip, that little stomach flip. That's the neurochemicals that I'm talking about. That's the stuff that, we sort of hope we'll feel always with that person, and it doesn't last, unfortunately. And so I hope that no one here is under the impression that because you don't feel that anymore, you might have picked the wrong person. It's just, you're exactly where you need to be when you're in a long-term relationship. And so I want to take you guys to that next level. And that next level is about deeper love. It's about a deeper understanding of your partner, and it's a deeper understanding of yourself. And one thing that I've noticed over and over with people that come in for couples therapy is that they um, they want they want to know if they made the wrong decision. They're coming in, it's sort of this last ditch effort. They've tried everything that they think that they can do. They feel like they've just reached this emotional gridlock. And when they come in, they just sort of feel like, did I pick the wrong person? Am I in the wrong relationship? Do I need to like scrap this and start over again? What am I doing wrong? And the biggest message that I would impart is that you're exactly where you need to be. If you're watching this and you've been in a long-term relationship and you guys have hit a stumbling block, or you're starting to notice that you have these circular arguments and it's always about the same thing and you keep on hitting the same roadblocks, you're exactly where you need to be, because relationships, all of our deep relationships, whether it be our relationships with our parents, our relationships with our partners, or our relationships with our kids, are people growing machines. And what that means is that the relationships that we have, especially those with our partners, are going to push us to grow. And we grew as a result of being our parents' children, for good and for bad, and we'll grow as a result of being our children's parents. And if we can stick with the heat long enough in our own relationship, we will also grow. The analogy that I use in the coursework below is that idea that you're climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and you're sort of, you and your partner are at the bottom of it, and you've reached the bottom third, but because of the fog, you feel like, oh, maybe we're close to the top, and it's getting harder, and it's like not fun anymore. And because of the altitude, you're exhausted, and so you just feel like, let's turn around. Let's call it a day. We'll do another mountain tomorrow, and it'll be fun. It'll be a whole new thing. That is sort of the analogy that I use for people that are in relationships that have sort of run stale, that they think that they've sort of traversed to the top, and that's as much as they're going to get out of this relationship, and sort of they're either going to just hit autopilot and coast, or they need to scrap it and find someone new. And from the outside, from a therapist perspective, it's like watching someone go only a third of the way up, and there's so much more to go, and they're quitting. And so that is what I want to just impart to you guys today as you're starting to head into this relationship course, is that if you're coming here out of a place of feeling frustrated or discouraged, or just wondering if you made the right decision in your marriage, for the most part, you're exactly where you need to be. And all I need for you to do throughout this process is just be open to new experience. Just be open to the idea that there are things that you don't know yet, and there are things that are still lying in the road for you to discover about yourself. And you have to trust in that to be able to go through the heat that often is our relationships, right? And what that looks like is when you're arguing with your partner, and your partner is just really pushing your buttons, and you retreat to your room and you're feeling really discouraged and down, to recognize that there is an opportunity in this, that there is growth in this if you sit with this and figure out what is being pushed for you. And we'll start to do some breakout sessions where we can look at specific examples. I'll put some case studies in here where you guys will see what I'm talking about if you're not as clear right now. But right now, the thing that I want you to focus on in this sex series is to understand that sex at the beginning of relationships will never be the same way 6 months to a year after. Sex evolves, just like us. Sex evolves. And that people in their 60s and 70s are still having really good sex. Some people in their 60s and 70s are still having really good sex. And those are the people that get it, right? Sex is not coming from being validated by someone else or being made to feel secure, because we don't need that anymore, right? In long-term relationships, we already feel secure. And as Esther Perel puts it, we trade in passion for security in marriage, right? We trade in passion so that we can get that security and stability. But the problem is that once we get that security and stability, we don't have passion anymore, and we want everything, right? So we can still have a form of passion. We can still have a great romantic life with our partner, but one in which we aren't literal crackheads, when we aren't just stewing in dopamine. And so that is what this series is about. And I'm so excited you guys are tuning in, and just stick with it. All right. Thanks, guys.